Shalom, Kal Halayim La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, to the Akim doing the work in truth and sincerity, as well as the few Akwat that listen and learn. This is Brother Shawar with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And this lesson I just wanted to get into, the fact that this world that we see, this current world that we live in, this rulership that we live in is not our rest. And I'm talking about the Israelites. When I say our, the so-called Negros, Latinos, and Native Americans, according to biblical prophecy and lining it up with secular history, these are the people of the Bible. These are the people of the Lord, whose true name is Yahweh and his son's true name is Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So, again, yes, because the prophets of the Lord, say this constantly, that the seed of the Israelites has been spread amongst all nations. So there are Israelite foreigners as well that look like other nations amongst the heathen nations. But to get back to the point, this world has been created basically essentially for our demise. It's working. Everything is working against you, especially as an Israelite man. We're at war with, our own people. Of course, there's the curses pursuant to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. But our enemy, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and these other nations have come against us and created a world to keep us down. And through the Spirit of the Lord, and the grace and mercy of Yahweh Shai and his sacrifice, we're now able to, we're waking up and coming back to who we are, and the Lord is coming back to deliver us once the elect is sealed and, these prophecies are fulfilled. But right now, we have to go through the world that, we currently live in. And this world is against us at all facets, all angles, the food, the air, your family, in a lot of cases, your woman, even your kids sometimes, just the setup of society in general, like, everybody's in a rat race. And now a lot of things are affecting everybody, but this is all aimed at the Israelites, right? Especially in the West, right? More so in the West. Other parts of the world is different, but it's basically the same thing. Like it's not, everything is influenced by the West for the most part. So let's get into some scriptures and just bring it out. So this is Micah 2:10, and it reads, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction," right? So arise ye and depart from the world, meaning, mentally and spiritually, because we can't physically depart. And, even, a lot of the other Israelites and stuff, they say to even flee Babylon, which is America, and stuff. You can't run away from the curses. You can't run away from what the Lord has set up and how this thing is going to play out, right? But this is talking about fleeing mentally and spiritually. So like being in the world, but not of the world, in other words. Because if you're entangled in this world, it's destroying you, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people are starting to realize it now, actually, because, the King Esau's kingdom is crumbling and the wicked is being revealed, so on and so forth. But, when you're entangled in this world, man, it's meant to destroy you. And you can see that, man. You see people, especially the Israelites, man. The Israelites are at a very low place, man. Sick, sick as hell and dying, messed up, just distorted and wicked mentalities and a bunch of corruption, and, the list goes on. Because that's the things that this world, brings. It's a wicked world, right? So that's what it breeds. It breeds wickedness. And that's going to go right with this precept that I have next. This is Job 9:24. It reads, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" Right? So Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, was given dominion of the planet Earth, right? And he got it by rape, robbery, and murder. But nonetheless, the Lord gave him the power to rule the earth, right? To basically teach us a lesson for our disobedience as a nation. right? But it was given into the hand of the wicked, man. And he covered for the faces of the judges thereof. He whitewashed everything, you know, made the history about him and changed everything to control the narrative and whatnot. And that's another lesson for another day. But it's now a wicked world we live in because of who's in rulership. You know, all the unjust policies and laws and, you know, the confusion, you know, even with the alphabet community and pushing things on kids and all these kids going missing and not being able to somehow, you know, they can never find these kids. You know, the list goes on. You know, there's corruption everywhere you look. They've literally created a giant prison, you know, and the elites of the nation of Edom, you know, Amalek, the JOOs, the elite banking families that really rule everything. It's really a kingdom for them to rule and for everyone to pretty much be enslaved and work for them, right? And that's what the MOTB, pursuant to Revelation 13 and 16, is really that's what they really want to like implement fully with that, because, you know, that would pretty much just be completing their whole plan. But again, you know, this is a wicked world we live in for this reason, because of who's in rulership. It's the wicked, the man of sin, Esau, Edom, right? And it's no mistake. If you can't see that's the case, then you're either turning a blind eye to it, you don't want to accept it, or the Lord just really isn't dealing with you at all, because even the heathen can see it, you know, regular people can see it, man. And the wickedness is it's gone. It's too far gone. That's why the Lord has to come and destroy this place and reset. But this is why, man. This is the scriptures, you know, giving us that clarity. That's the beauty of the truth, man. Right? And the precept I'm thinking of is Isaiah 33 and 6, because it says, wisdom and knowledge shall give you stability in thy times, right? So and things are going to get worse, as we know Jacob's trouble is coming, when this place is really going down and all hell is broken loose and it's like the purge out here, you know. But knowing these things and understanding the scriptures for what it is and having the eyesight and the spirit to see that the Lord gives you, you know, it gives you that comfort, right? It gives you that stability, as the scripture says. Because we know and understand what's going on, but most of the people out here don't. So they're going to be losing their mind, and, you know, it's just going to be terrible. They're not going to have no stability, no peace of mind, no nothing through that storm, right? So let's get this in Psalms 82. And it reads, starting at 5. Psalms 82 and 5, it reads, they know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course, right? So the people are just walking in darkness, meaning there's no light in them, man. There's no light in them. You know, the light being the truth, the wisdom and knowledge, understanding of the scriptures. So they're just walking in darkness, man. Imagine, you know, we're in a building or something, and the lights is just off. It's pitch black in there, and you're walking through trying to navigate. You're running into stuff. You're, you know, hitting your head on stuff and tripping over stuff. But those of us who have the truth, the Lord's elect, hopeful elect, you know, they have a light. They have a light, you know, around them or in their hand, whatever the case may be, so that they can see what's in front of them, they can see what's around them. You know, and it's still going to be, there's still obstacles in there they have to get around, but they can see. They can see, you know, what's what and navigate properly, because the Spirit is guiding them, the Spirit being that light. Right? So this is basically the metaphor that the world is, it's darkness. It's a dark place, right? Because they have been deceived. Like, and everyone's under that spell, enchantment of darkness, besides the elect for the most part. Right? And then again, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. Right? Because why? The wicked is ruling. They basically are trying to take the ways of the Lord, and they've been doing it since they got dominion all the way back to Alexander the Great. You know, that's when they got dominion. That's when the Edomite first got dominion, you know, of the earth. That's when it started. You know, they've been implementing, just trying to rewrite the things of the Lord, implementing their wicked ways and their ideologies. Right? And ever since, it's been growing and growing and growing. And now you see basically the perfect example of how not to do things. That's what the Lord is showing us with this. Right? A kingdom of upside down kingdom of confusion, you know, lawlessness, lack of order, you know, sickness, death, you know, it's madness. And then basically you're slavery. You know, they sugarcoat it and they dress it up, but when you break it down, that's what everyone is. We're all just working for the wicked elite at the end of the day, in a rat race trying to survive, even those who are rich, especially in these times, or so-called rich, right? So let's continue. On Psalms 82:6, it reads, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations, right? So that's dealing with the Israelites, the elect, starting with the elect on this side, the 144,000, and the great multitude that the Lord is going to deliver into the kingdom when he destroys this place, right? And even the Israelites in general, because, you know, we're supposed to be the gods on earth, extensions of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai on earth, right? But we've fallen very low because of our disobedience from our forefathers, and here we are dying like men, you know, dying like, you know, like the rest of the heathen, like regular men, you know, and being put on the bottom of the totem pole, even though we still are really on the highest of the totem pole, even at our lowest state. But that's how they paint it, and that's how they treat us, right? And also in the kingdom, we will get back our glory, or back our power, you know, starting with Yahushai, King David, the 12, and then the rest of the elect, 144,000, as I said, you know, and we will inherit all nations, and they will be under us. So it's going to be flipped, but it's going to be done in righteousness. And that's in the kingdom, which is going to be on earth, as it says in the Lord's Prayer. But that's another lesson for another day, right? So let's go to Psalms 83, the next chapter over real quick, because you see, this is why these nations, and, you know, especially Esau, Edom is even doing this, because the elites of these other nations, they understand this. They know who we are. They know we are the children of Israel. They know we are the children of the Lord. So they know if we wake up and we come back to our power, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, they know it's a wrap for them. They know their kingdom is going down and we're rising up, and there's nothing they can do about it. So this is why they do this. This is why this system, and, you know, and it's worldwide, really. And again, it's worse in the West, but it's still worldwide to an extent, because this is what they've planned together and created to keep the Israelites down, you know, through the food, through the culture, like the hip hop, you know, through movies, through living conditions, through, you know, anything you could think of, to keep the Israelites sick, downtrodden, docile, you know, chasing the wrong things, at war with each other, at war with their woman, the family, all these little policies and laws they created, feminism, to divide the household, everything, man. Even going back to redlining, and, you know, I mean, the list goes on, like, as we know. But so let's get to Psalms 83 and start at 2. It reads, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, right? This is all the other nations coming together and planning to cut Israel off from being a nation. You know, they took away our identity, starting with the Edomites, right? Well, not even starting with the Edomites, but, you know, the northern kingdom, the so-called Latino tribes, and the Negro tribes, we both lost our identity through captivity, right? And they gave us fake names. You know, our oppressors gave us the fake names. And pursuing Jeremiah, pursuing Jeremiah 17:4. Matter of fact, let's read it. It says, "And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever," right? So the Israelites were said to discontinue from their heritage, and this is a part of it. These other nations coming together and planning to keep us down and away from who we are. Right? So this is what's going on in the earth, man. This is what's happening to the main character of the story. You know, along with all the curses in Deuteronomy 28. But this is what they're doing. This is what these heathen are doing against us, man. This is why this world is not our rest. This is why, as an Israelite, you really can't win in this world. You know, you might be able to get some money now, but even at that point, like there's everything is that much more expensive. You know, and you're never going to be able to just do what you will. You know, you're not going to be able to make real change. That's why they don't let a lot of these athletes and entertainers and rappers, singers, whatever, they're not allowed to really make change like that, because Esau's not letting them. Right? And even to get to that point of being on that level or that status, you gotta sell your soul. You gotta do all these weird and freaky, nasty, wicked things that Esau wants you to do to prove his loyalty to him. You know, and it's a never-ending cycle. So and again, you know, with the Lord, you know, the Lord will guide us and keep us stable in these times and give us our daily bread. And, you know, you could be all right, man, especially with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, if you apply wisdom and play it right. Not saying everything is just, you know, completely just the worst experience ever. I mean, it is, but you could be okay. But you gotta apply wisdom, and you gotta be smart, man. And ultimately, the Lord gotta be dealing with you for the most part. Because most people out here are you know, they're stressed out as hell, and they rather just not even be here. That's how a lot of people feel. Right? So that's what's going on right now, man. This world is just against us. So let's get a couple more scriptures and we'll close it. So this is 1 Corinthians 7:27. It reads, Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loose from a wife? Seek not a wife. And if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you, right? So that's just a little side note that dealing with a woman on this side, you're gonna have trouble in the flesh, man. No matter how you look at it, you know, you could have you know, there's women that are okay, that are cool, you know, pleased to dwell with you, and they, you know, they do right by you. You know, but we understand the situation in these times that these women are just off, and they're not really how women are supposed to be necessarily. You know, and they've been taught a bunch of BS and led astray as well, just like the men. So that causes strife, and you know, in dealing with them. It just is what it is. You know, but everybody's situation is different. You know, again, there's women that are okay. There's women that are cool and that are trying as well. But that's just advice, right? Verse 28, it reads, verse 29. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none. For those, you know, brothers in the ministry, in the truth, really, you know, that's pursuing the Lord and doing the work. You know, your main focus should be the work. I mean, your main focus should be serving Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So it should be as if you didn't have a woman, you know, even if you do. Easier said than done, but, you know, basically saying the main focus should always be the truth. It should be in the forefront of your mind. And of course, you have to balance yourself out, you know, in your everyday life. But again, just an example. Verse 30, and they that weep as though they weep not, or wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoiced not, and they that buy as though they possessed not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away, right? So again, balancing yourself out, understanding the situation and applying wisdom, knowing the truth, that we have to use this world. We're here, you have to sustain yourself. You have to, and there's nothing wrong with even bettering your situation and whatnot, but you don't want to abuse the world. You don't want to get too engulfed in the things of the world and have no 10-year plan. The Lord is coming back to destroy this place. So you do what you can. You follow the Lord. You follow the Lord to the best of your ability. Pursue the Lord with your whole heart. If you have a family, you do right. You do right by your family, and you navigate through the Spirit, whatever your situation is. You apply the wisdom of the Lord, and you deal, you live. But you just don't get too caught up in the world, man, because it's about to pass away. Because why? This is not our rest. That's something we have to always understand and keep in the back of our minds. Really the point is made. I was going to get the scripture in 1 Peter 5 and 6, talking about how our enemy, to be sober, be vigilant, because our adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, is walking, seeking about whom he may devour, because, we have enemies, and Esau is after us, and, they're constantly thinking how to attack and destroy the Israelites, right? And do it low key, even though it's getting less and less low key, but it's gonna get to the point where the horns are fully showing. But the point is made. So yeah, again, this is not our rest. As Israelites especially, the kingdom is coming. We have something to look forward to. That's what we should be focusing on. The Lord is gonna basically, reset everything and put us on top and give us, blessings beyond belief. But first we gotta go through Jacob's trouble and the hardships, but it's all gonna be worth it, and the Lord is guiding us through it anyway. But we have to understand this isn't our rest. Speaking of myself too, and keep the truth in the forefront of your mind, keep it the main thing, balance yourself out, and endure unto the end, right? So with that, I'm gonna give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, Shalom, Kwam, Yasharala, and a Bible ball.